linking to the concept that I sort of mentioned earlier, the one is that we should not depreciate the value of what we can bring to the table. So once we can just, just be comfortable with it, then we would realize that we've got a lot of, and therefore we need to dig in, we need to do what we need to do, because by digging, we can surface things that when others encounter those things, they will do much better in what they're doing. So in a sense, there's a servanthood that comes in here. That if we don't do what we can do, that we should do, we are robbing other people from doing what they should do. So just having that humility, focus in what you need to do, and surface it. And so don't sometimes use the concept of being false humble. Don't be false humble, because then you depreciate what you should be showcasing. You need to showcase that thing. It's not because you are gloating or anything. It's because it needs to be out there, because other people will build their houses on it. It becomes a platform on which other people, including politicians, can build their empires or whatever on it. There's one emperor that I like. Wow, not everything that he did, but some aspects of what he did is Genghis Khan. So he was a master at, when he conquers a village or people and so on, he was careful not to just go and slaughter all the men and take all the women. As long as, people are not traveling and so on, let's look for the talented ones and, let's build. And that's quite important to understand that for us, ultimately we want to build prosperous societies, not professional societies, broader societies. But for that to happen, everybody's got to build their part. Everybody's got to play their role. So we need to play our role. So we understand that there is this intellectual ability that we've been endowed with. It is there because, to make it here, you need to have that. That IQ needs to be quite high. None of us would be actually, if almost everybody here was some kind of an A student somewhere down the line. So it's there. We've been endowed with it. It's a gift. So then it needs to be applied in such a way that when we showcase things, when we bring things out there, it makes your lawyers, your other people do their jobs even better. They then can understand. You mentioned earlier the quality of being able to simplify things and put it in a context or put it in a way that people can say, oh, aha, I can see this, I can see that, I can see that. And actually enjoy doing that because it serves everybody. So that is something that I find quite special.
Absolutely, Lusani. I think if we come back to this idea that our profession exists to serve the public interest, then we must be putting our knowledge into the public domain. It is our duty to do so. It is our duty to democratize the work that we do to a degree.
Yeah. And to start off with, we must do that work. And that's what Jannie is.
That is the trick. And I think perhaps closing the loop to where we started, is for us to really be effective in those conversations, to make a contribution that we believe that we can make, require a certain level of humbleness and open-mindedness that, that we bring to the table. And I think if we have that, our core capabilities and skills that we have within us are such that we will then find the value within those conversations, and other people will see it, but, we don't take it for granted. We have to earn it through those contributions. And I think, that mindset is the one to adopt, particularly as we venture into sometimes, very unknown areas for ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's interesting because as I've as we've been engaging, the one word that I've heard repeated several times is humility.
Yeah,
So every
something very foreign to
way
us.
that we've observed and conversed, it is the word that has come through about the humility of our knowledge and the ability to be open to learning, to be humble enough to recognize the need to adapt. It's a bit of a theme for us.
You know, the other word that I could introduce that encapsulates what you've just said is the word vulnerable. I'm reading a book by, I think her name is, her surname is Brown.
Brene Brown.
Brene Brown. Hey,
Fantastic lady.
Yeah. Daring Greatly, right? That's a book. I'm reading that, and yeah, it opens you up. And the people that make a difference in the world are people who are willing to make themselves vulnerable in a sense. So you know you've got something to give, but you also know that you are inadequate in many ways, but you still go out. And that's what is required from actuaries. And so yes, we know that our EQ is not as developed as it should be. Some of us, I mean, guys like Jannie are super at this, the IQ is very high. But you still expose yourself, you still go out there and you get your bruises, you get your scars, you still pick yourself up because you've got something that matters. You've got something that you need to give. So you can't just go down in soft PT and so on. You gotta dust yourself up, get up again, be humble, go out there and present and so on. I'm told that a while back in the society, I think Jannie was definitely around. It used to be quite hectic when you presented papers at the Actuarial Society because you really be tackled like rugby style. So people just like, oh, no, I can't do that to myself. People will tackle. Yeah, we hopefully have created a different environment where that won't do that. So people can feel comfortable to be vulnerable and going and introducing a new idea. I mean, a lot of the guys that came up with groundbreaking concepts were looked at as lunatics at some point.
Yes. Yeah.
There's an aspect of that. We need lunatics, right? Then you need more lunatics in the profession.
I won't put it like that, but I do think, conceptually, the willingness to take a risk, it's rare actually, and I think, the true pioneers, they're few and far between, and those first steps into the unknown, should be recognized, and they often chart the way for, tens and hundreds of professionals to follow and really cement that space and do the deeper work and so forth, but it's made possible by the first person and sometimes the first follower into a new area to say, yes, hang on, here's something new, and I think we must also create the environment where that is recognized and it's in a sense safe, to do that, it's easier said than done because sometimes these steps are taken into say the public domain, as we've seen, and then it leads to I think difficult situations, which we've had, and that's something that we need to learn. You cannot have progress without that. You need those first. Those first steps.
Yeah. It reminds me of a great quote from a very interesting man. I'm sure we all have our views on Steve Jobs, but it's the quote that goes, "Here's to the crazy ones, misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently." And he goes on, but essentially he's saying, these are the people who can change the world, and they're the ones who do. Those are the people our profession needs.
Yeah. No, definitely. So, you know, what we have said as council is that, you know, we don't want to go on a bandwagon embracing the cancel culture, you know, when people have said things that maybe make other people uncomfortable. And there, I'm not talking about being, you know, insensitive towards certain cultural issues, race, sexism, etc. But just in general, and not be going down the you know, down the line of just canceling people because they're swimming against the stream, etc. So there needs to be a conducive environment, and we're working hard from the leadership side for the misfits, you know, for people who really see things differently, to still feel welcome as members of the society. Yes, we've got our code, we've got certain things that one shouldn't do. There's some civilities that one should be mindful of. But when it comes to ideological, or when it comes to new concepts and so on, by all means, expose us to these new concepts. Maybe there are new ways of distributing income in society, other than the sort of, you know, we talk about what you call meritocracy, and yes, it's reasonable, and yes, it works, but one wonders whether, you know, going into the future that we're going into, where we are told that there will be fewer formal jobs, etc., what meritocracy then looks like. You know, Jannie, we discussed the whole issue of, you know, what education will look like. I mean, if we know that the education system thus far has favored pretty much the left brain people, you know, yes, people like us, in a sense, we've done quite well. We were remunerated quite well, etc. Whereas some of the right brain people, you know, find it quite difficult at times, unless they become a superstar, which we know that, you know, statistically, it may not be a possibility for everybody to become a superstar. So there's certain challenges in society, which I often call them, you know, wicked problems, that need a different way of thinking. And you do need people to step out and say, how are we going to distribute income for people who are also looking after dogs and they're doing it very well, looking after trees and doing it very well, and so on. You know, there's some of these challenges that may not have featured in our vocabulary or within the realm of the kind of problems that we look at, that we need to start looking at. I mean, I've got at university students that I'm supervising their research, and the one is looking at food supply and demand 2050. So there's an element of modeling there. But then there's a whole lot of what one needs to understand about agriculture and what kind of food gets produced and how much energy it takes to produce certain kinds of food, and you know, diets and stuff like that. And therefore, how could we get to a future that is secure, food secure, given the kind of population projections that we're looking at in various regions and all the climate and changes, etc. So it's quite a lot of factors for one to think about. But quite important to, given that there's such a lot of factors that one need to think about, to your point, Marjorie, earlier, that we actually do have the capability to deal with multifactorial, you know, environment. And therefore, you know, we may be well suited to start dealing with these type of wicked problems. So that is something that we need to really be open